This episode is sponsored by Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain it to you really quickly. To start off, it's 100% free, and there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast for you so it could be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more platforms. In fact, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. If you're interested, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Hey, lovely people.
Welcome back to another episode of the Unraveling the World podcast.
On today's episode, we're going to unravel a very important topic, and we're going to be talking about fast fashion. So, Ishani, if you want to just give us a brief summary about what it is.
Yeah, so before we even start talking about what fast fashion is, I feel like we have to talk about the term itself. So for the people who don't know, fast fashion is basically a term used to describe a highly profitable business model based on replicating catwalk trends and high fashion designs and mass producing them at a low cost. And the term fast fashion is also used to generically describe the fast fashion business model. So in easier, simpler words, it basically means really expensive clothes that require a lot of money, but they're sold at a really low price because they're able to get workers and workers all around the world, and especially third world countries more in South Asia, and they're able to work and pay them very less. And so they're able to even afford to sell these clothes in such a low price to the mass population.
And I just wanted to quickly put a quick disclaimer. We're going to be talking about different companies and stuff, and we don't want to bash any companies or say anything. We're just trying to state the facts, and that's just basically what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to just start about kind of giving their opinions about fast fashion, maybe?
Well, I think that fast fashion, obviously, it's morally wrong, but it's not morally wrong to shop from, it's not morally wrong to shop from fast fashion, because even I have to shop from fast fashion. Not everyone has the money to go to a store every time and check and make sure it's not fast fashion. Most of the stores, even in our mall, are fast fashion, and so it's not your fault if you cannot afford from a store that isn't fast fashion. Even the most expensive stores, they even have fast fashion. It's pretty surprising to me. When I first found out the companies that did fast fashion, I was so shocked because I was like, what? The store is so expensive. But it's absolutely not your fault if you cannot afford something that isn't fast fashion. Like me, I can't afford, most of the times I have to get fast fashion, and but we can't ignore the fact that there are so many negative effects of fast fashion, like pollution and the workers especially is probably the biggest part. But there are so many things wrong with fast fashion that I think needs to be discussed.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And also, like you mentioned, a lot of people do rely on fast fashion, and it's not anybody's fault because I'm not gonna say it's a cheaper alternative, but for people that can't afford high-end high-end clothing that costs $100 or even more, it sometimes gets pricey for other people, so fast fashion is an alternative. And yes, there are a lot of negative consequences that come with fast fashion, such as pollution, and it also fills up a lot of landfills, but that's basically what it is.
Yeah, and I feel like even if, including me, the average population, we have to shop at brands like Forever 21, Primark, or whatever it might be. Most companies these days do contribute to fast fashion, and it's just something that you can't avoid, but you can take some time before you even do purchase something online, especially, like, do like a little research, even if the brand, because 99% of the time they will contribute to fast fashion, but it's helpful when you kind of look at the statistics and decide between a company that contributes to fast fashion, like 7% of the company contributes to fast fashion, or like versus a company that contributes to fast fashion like 20% of the time. Obviously you'd go with the company number A, right? And so, but like a lot of the time the problem that lies here is the fact that like most of these companies that don't contribute to fast fashion, they're extremely expensive, and because we might not be able to afford those certain clothings that might be way out of our afford rates types, we have to indirectly contribute to fast fashion, even if it might have a lot of negative consequences, which is why a lot of people should consider thrifting. But another thing is that like people who are able to like buy these clothes that are way more expensive, whatever, they thrift anyway, and they kind of forget the fact that like some people that's their only option, you know, because thrifting is obviously not expensive, and you can still find, it's like kind of secondhand, not really type, it's kind of secondhand. And so if you are able to, obviously buy from companies who don't contribute or contribute extremely little to fast fashion. But yeah.
And I think that let's go into detail about how it contributes to pollution. So something we should talk about is how fast fashion is literally like accounts for 10% of carbon emissions, like in the entire world, and it's also the second largest industry when it comes to pollution behind the oil industry, right? So
Yeah.
and like the thing is, since the materials of all the clothes are cheap, people throw them away only after a few uses in exchange for for new clothing, you know? So like all the chemicals that are being used to make these cheap clothes, they always end up in the landfills, and they always end up being in the environment that they were thrown into. And another problem with the clothing is that when being washed or thrown away, so there's like 500 tons of microfibers, or tiny pieces of non-biodegradable materials. They always end up in the oceans every single year. And fast fashion is a huge factor in the destruction and pollution of the environment.
Yeah. And also adding to what Melvina said, aside from like the environmental effects, which is obviously impacting, our planet a lot, because first of all, aside from fast fashion, there's also a lot of other contributors, and this is just adding more to it. But I just also wanted to bring up a point about the people that work in the fast fashion industry, because I know for a fact that it kind of negatively impacts workers sometimes too, especially like young and underage women as well, because I've done a lot of research and I've seen that a lot of people, they work long hours and they get like minimum pay, and sometimes it's also unsafe, like the working conditions that they're living in. And the main reason why the people start working underage in the first place is because they have to find some sort of a way to provide for their family, and if this is a way that they can, they obviously seek to take the opportunity. And yeah, it's just a kind of, it's just bad. And also like throughout the past years, there have been a lot of people that have also passed away because of the dangerous conditions, like workshops have collapsed, and I don't know, it's just not a safe thing, but there's obviously more to it than it seems.
Yeah, especially in like South Asia and everything, a lot of like most of the like the clothing industry is filled with like female workers, is because like a lot of the time they're not able to get access to education, or their family, they don't want them to get educated, like or go to school or something, so they have to find any way to get money, and you don't know why they're trying to earn that money, whether it be for school or even to provide for their kids, family, whatever it might be. And so they kind of rely on working these really long hours, like spending 18 hours of like absurd hours of their day working to get barely get the living wage. And so I was like researching the other day, and I read somewhere that like 93% of brands surveyed by the fashion checker aren't paying garment workers a living wage, which is completely disgusting, first of all. And second of all, they have to live off the, even if it's a living like average living wage, they still have to kind of live off this. And it's not even for themselves, it's like so many other aspects. Like they're trying to feed their kid, they're just trying to provide a quote unquote like normal life for their child.
Yeah. And adding on to what Ishani said, obviously these circumstances that people are put under are like horrible. But I know that like people are like they're working on improving these situations because the Clean Clothes campaign, I believe, it was like founded like not a couple of years ago, quite some time ago. So they've been like advocating for like the rights of workers, especially women, because mainly the people that are put under these situations are women because of having to provide for their family. So they go under these situations in order to get money.
And I think a question I wanted to ask was, do you think, like, how much, like, I'm sure many people are aware of its environmental costs and the labor costs. Like, despite that, do you think that'll ever change? Like, do you think we're ever gonna have eventually stop using fast fashion?
Ishani, you can go.
To be completely honest, I don't think we will, because it's only getting worse. Like if you look at the statistics from whether it be like a year ago or even like 10 years ago, it's only getting progressively worse. And so not in the near future, at least, because maybe when there's like more technology or like more I'm not really sure how technology would help this, but I don't know, I really don't think so.
That's a very interesting question, Malvina, but I agree with Ishani. I don't think that there will ever be a solution for this issue, because the numbers are just increasing and stuff. But I think that hopefully in the near future the numbers can subside. Like similarly with COVID, it's not gonna like disappear or anything. It's still gonna be part of our daily lives. We just have to learn how to take control of it. So that's kind of similar with fast fashion.
Yeah, fast fashion in general, a lot of brands that contribute to fast fashion, a lot of the time also they have a history of other places that they've not done so well at, like whether it be like gender equality in their workers and everything. So that's another thing to keep in mind. But like again, it goes back to the base that like they're able to put out like affordable clothing. So it's a really weird stance to have. Like even if you say that you're against fast fashion, it's like we're the same people who have to buy or like shop at these places. So it kind of keeps multiplying, which is kind of why I believe it's not ever gonna
go away.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just not, at least not in the near future.
Yeah, because I'm sure that everyone knows that fast fashion has like such a big negative impact, and it's not like people want to harm our planet. It's just that people don't really have a choice, because it's like more affordable and it's also easier to access, so people don't really have a choice. And people don't want to pay that much money if they have like a cheaper alternative. So fast fashion is what people would just go to.
Yeah, it's really become the like new normal, like, and I think that but however, I do think that like eventually there's gonna be some type of like technology to help us with this. I do think that eventually it will happen. Maybe not yet, but I do think that like eventually I'm sure that there's some technology that will be made. Like our 21st century, there's so much technology being built, and I think that there's gonna be something in the future, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Because
Sorry,
go ahead, Ishani.
Sorry, you can go.
Okay. I just wanted to say that a lot of companies that not that I shop at that. I was just researching like kind of for the podcast, and I saw a lot of companies, and I was like, I can't believe that that company does fast fashion, because I like pass by that store in the mall, like my mom shops there, I shop there, and it's kind of like scary to think that I'm contributing to the environmental impacts and kind of what's happening. But I don't think people should necessarily blame themselves. Obviously, they can take like a safer alternative and buy clothes at like non-fast fashion companies. Like I know a couple off the top of my head, like Patagonia and like several other companies. But I don't know, I think it's just really surprising, because I'm not trying to bash these companies or anything, but I know that like H&M, Shein, and Primark, off the top of my head, they like rely on fast fashion, and I shop there frequently. So it was just kind of shocking to me.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
so
I can't
awesome.
help but feel guilty sometimes. Like I remember when I first like the day I first found out about fast fashion, I didn't buy clothes for I think 2 months cuz I just felt so guilty for even owning clothes that were fast fashion. Like seriously, I just didn't go to the mall for 2 months. I didn't buy any clothing for 2 months and I was like and I just felt so incredible because even Walmart uses fast fashion and when I found that out I was like,
Wait,
"Oh my
Really?
Walmart?
god." Yeah,
Oh
Walmart
my
uses fast
god.
fashion.
I literally go there every day.
Yeah, and I was looking for so many alternatives, and I thought, oh yeah, maybe Walmart might not be fast fashion. I looked into it, and of course, it's fast fashion. So I was just, yeah, like I had a huge like when I first learned about it, I just felt so incredibly guilty, and I know it's not my fault, but it just sucks that I have to like help contribute to the poor child laborers, especially the children. Like, it sucks, but I don't
Yeah.
even know what I can do besides shop a little less, try to find because I really can't afford like being brutally honest, I really can't afford all that. But
Yeah.
like
I,
I just felt so guilty.
I feel like other than that, I feel like there are a lot of people who feel similar to you, Melvina, including me. Like, it's like we really can't afford these things, and we're kind of like preaching these things. But I feel like something that we can do is, I was the same day I was researching, I also saw that like I think it was like the average American throws out like 81 pounds of clothing per year. No, not per year. Sorry, in their lifetime, 81 pounds. That like, and there are like what 7 billion people on this planet. No, wait, Americans. So like whatever million, and that's really really bad. So something that you can do is kind of or like not even throw away, like recycle your clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And
You can like do a lot with it. You can give it to a thrift store. You can like for me, what happened like after in those like 2 months, I was trying to find ways to take my old clothes and like I don't know, like you obviously you don't have to learn how to sew and stuff like that. But there's like I don't know, there's like cool things. You can literally just cut a shirt up and like tie it and wear it. Like I don't know, there's different ways to recycle old clothing. And like even if you can't do that, you can always donate. Like to
yeah,
people who need it rather than throwing it away. Like my dad, he used to just throw it away. Liz. And we were able to like once after learning about fast fashion, we are like our entire family now. We recycle our clothing or we give it to the people who need it.
Yeah. And also, we keep on using the term like non-fast fashion, but I just wanted to jump in really quickly and say that the proper terminology is actually called slow fashion. So basically,
Slow?
it's called slow fashion actually.
oh, it kind of
Yeah.
makes sense though. But
Yeah, it's like the opposite of fast fashion and part of the slow movement, which advocates for manufacturing in respect to people, environment, and animals. So I just read that off of Google right now, but yeah, that's basically what it is, the proper term.
yeah, I feel like my family too. I feel like a lot of like younger siblings especially know, like, even I got like so many hand-me-downs from my sister, and even though I was so mad at the moment, whether it be like clothes because I wasn't getting new things, now that I look back in like my childhood or whatever, I'm so glad that I actually got hand-me-downs. I don't get me wrong, I even got new clothes, but a lot of my clothes were hand-me-downs from my sister or my cousins or whatever. And now that I look back, I'm so grateful that that happened. Even like if you think about it, like even the little things matter. Like it would have been worse if I did contribute then to fast fashion, even though I was like 6-7 years old. And fast fashion has been around for like years, decades even. And like the fact that I didn't even know what fast fashion was if you'd asked me like 2 years ago,
Mhm.
which is why one of the reasons why we're making this
Yeah.
podcast episode, you know. So
Yeah. Like right now I'm just scrolling through a bunch of like slow fashion brands, and I feel like out of 1 out of every 30 I'm able to recognize like one, which is kind of bad if you think about it, which means that like these companies aren't recognized for what they're doing and for their ethical efforts. And I just feel like fast fashion has become so reliant, which is why they're so famous, all these companies. I don't know, that's just my opinion.
yeah, like places like Shein and stuff, their clothes are so cheap, right? And people will buy them in mass, and they'll buy like it's like a trend on TikTok almost. There are like so many coupons or whatever on TikTok. Their cart might be like almost $1,000, and then with codes, coupons, and so many different things that are available these days, they'll almost bring the cart down to like $200-$300. That's almost a 700 like loss for the company. Not even for the company that like kind of for the company, like they're not able to pay their workers. And even though it's like you're buying it and you're like, oh my god, I got this for so cheap, and yeah, you did get it for really cheap, but like another side of it, it's like a person in Bangladesh or India or whatever it might be, they're not able to even get food on their plate, you know. So
Yeah. And obviously, I guess in terms of what you can do to help, I think that obviously, you know, everyone kind of relies on fast fashion and it's hard to get rid of. But I think that at least trying to put in some effort to make changes. And I understand that maybe like slow fashion is probably hard to afford, but maybe trying the best you can, even like what Melvina said, like recycling rather than throwing or donating. Those are like small steps that you can do that are like free of cost.
yeah, but I feel like I think for like Goodwill and places like that, once you donate, I think you get money.
Really?
Yeah, I think so, because when you donate, they like look at, maybe not Goodwill, I feel like it was like Plato's Closet or something. When you
Oh.
donated, they'd give you money or something like that, which is kind of, I don't know. I don't find that kind of correct, but whatever it might
Yeah.
be, whatever floats your boat. But yeah, I think they pay you money. I don't know. I feel like Plato's Closet closed down, but I'm not really sure. But yeah, they so in terms of what you can do, definitely like reuse, hand donate, and like accept
Yeah.
hand-me-downs. Honestly, just there's so many ways you can make things fun. Like you can crop them, like for jeans and stuff, you can like rip them and make them cute. You can tie-dye stuff. There's so many ways to make things sustainable and useful, you know?
Yeah. Like a lot of people, I 100% understand that like it's expensive and stuff, and you don't want to like put money into like hundreds of thousands of dollars for like expensive clothing. But you know, when it comes to like the point where something that you can do is free of cost, I feel like you should take it as an opportunity to help our planet, because it is our planet, you know?
And I think that this is a good time to end our podcast today.
So maybe to end our podcast, I guess today we can just like kind of just talk to each other about like what are like common, I don't know, like places that we normally shop at.
So I can go first. Something good that I kind of like to do is like kind of thrift sometimes, but I still contribute definitely. I often shop at Forever 21 and like places like, I don't know, American Eagle and stuff, which are huge contributors to fast fashion. But now that I've like educated myself, I'll definitely like not try to buy from those places. I'll try to thrift more or do something else. But yeah.
Same here for me. Like as Ishani, like I will definitely try harder to decrease the amount of fast fashion I'm buying, fast fashion clothing.
Yeah. I mean, the main place that I usually shop at is Hollister. I'm not really sure. Wait, is that a fast fashion company, Hollister?
I think so, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Really? Yeah. Well, I'm gonna try as well. I mean, every year, my family, like, we kind of donate, like, clothes that have become smaller for us and stuff. So obviously I'm gonna still continue doing that, and I'll look into like, you know, slow fashion companies, which would help the environment as well. So
I just found out that Hollister, it looks like it might have not been a fast fashion in the beginning, but it's slowly going to turn into a fast fashion retailer because it's not been doing as well.
really,
Yeah, because the thing is that if a company is like making their prices like, I don't know, like hundreds of dollars, no one's gonna buy it, you know.
Yeah.
because that's basically kind of what happens. Like, if I like put something, my mom might be like, oh yeah, it's like too expensive or something, right? Which is completely understandable, and I feel like people would just go for the cheaper alternative, which I don't blame them for, but it's kind of just like a norm.
Yeah, that kind of wraps it up.
Yeah, that basically wraps up this week's episode where we talked about fast fashion. We hope you learned more about it and things that you can do to be a better person.
Bye.
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 Thank you so much for listening.